Kim and Barb. They are from Calgary Real Estate Podcast, and they've been following us on our podcast, and I felt like we really don't know too much about Calgary's market.
I have family there.
Oh, you do have family there?
But yeah, I would love to know more about the Calgary market.
So welcome to our podcast, guys.
Thank you both for having us on here. As I was mentioning just before we started the episode, my mom and I have been listening to your podcast, and I love seeing the woman aspect of running a podcast. And yeah, we both are part of the Calgary Real Estate Podcast. So we started it just back in February. Mom, want to give a little bit of a background of your experience and just what you're finding on Calgary market?
Yes, tell us.
Yes, so I'm with Sotheby's. I'm a senior vice president with Sotheby's in Calgary, and I've been in real estate about 15 years, just the residential side. And we haven't had the market that Vancouver has had certainly over the last few years, but we're really excited by the market we're seeing this year as a result of COVID and pent-up demands and people putting more value on their house and all those other factors coming into play. It's the first year we've actually had positive price increases in Calgary since 2014. So we've been kind of in a real down market, but it's really exciting to see us coming back. And I was involved in a competitive offer situation last night, another one last week. So we haven't seen those for a long time in the marketplace.
Fantastic.
So yeah, we'll talk about that over the past 7 years, giving some of our agents tips in a market where it could be a little bit more struggling for them, or even some new agents that may be starting off in the business and just don't really know how to start. And so they may kind of have that same feeling or same experience where how do they grow their business? But before we go on to that, Kim, let's hear about your story. Like, what's your background in this industry?
Yeah, so I started in real estate. Well, I took urban planning in school, and I actually started out opening the Alberta office for urban analytics. So Michael and John out of Vancouver are the founders of Urban Analytics, and they were looking to expand into Alberta. I met them just at the right time and really got to learn the ins and outs of the multifamily real estate business. So I spent 5 years, growing a team, growing the platform, collecting the data, visiting every single sales center in the entire market. And it was a very different time in Calgary than it was in Vancouver. So for example, when I was running the urban analytics platform in Calgary, sales were very, very slow. And then I'd talk to Michael and John, and they'd be like, oh yeah, this building just sold out in 2 days. This one launched and it's already sold out. And so it was just two completely different markets, but very interesting to see. And now that we're almost starting to come out of a little bit of a slump, it's quite fascinating just to watch, the comparisons in different cities across Canada here. Now, I spent 5 years working with the urban analytics team, and then I moved over to Calgary Economic Development. And now I'm actually starting my own real estate journey. So
exciting. Congratulations.
Podcast has been, a little bit of a Kickstarter. It was something that I've always really looked up to my mom and her real estate career in ways that I can work with her and learn from her. So that's the next journey that I'm kind of undertaking, and that's why I think your podcast and learning from various females in the industry has been very beneficial.
Are you guys working as a team, or are you going to be working separately?
Not yet.
I am hopefully recruiting Kim onto my team. Yeah, a team of 6 women actually. So we have a fantastic team of women, and Kim and I have been chatting about this. This could be her pre-announcement because we haven't announced it yet in Calgary, but which is fantastic because of her strong knowledge in the multifamily and the condo market and different demographics with, our clearly different age difference. And, she's going to do amazing in this career.
That sounds so
Yeah,
interesting.
sounds like you already
Mother-daughter
have-
team.
Yeah, you already have a unique proposition to you because you know how to do appraisals and analyzing all the numbers.
I actually have a question. I'm just wondering here through your guys' speaking. Barb, because you mentioned that you were in multiple offers the other night. But I'm curious as to, so you have your own real estate team of 6 fabulous women, and you're also senior VP of Sotheby's. What does that look like? And then you also have the new podcast. So what does your day look like? How do you fit everything in?
Well, so I've, and when we talk about growing teams, a great topic for a future podcast, I'm trying to move more into a mentoring role. So just actually in the past 6 months, I've decided I'm not going to lead any more listings. I'll always partner or be a second with one of my team members. So all of my team members kind of work, I guess, with me. We're structured that I take a little piece of all their business and I help them out with all their business. I still work directly with some buyers and I'm involved in probably half the listings on our team. And I'm trying to do more and more just mentoring. I go to most of the list presentations. I try to help on the pricing and winning the business and then back off when it comes to the next step.
A lot of our listeners often ask us how to start a team or how to let go of that control because they believe that that client only wants to work with them. So I've been able to pass off a lot of my leads and contacts and clients over to my team because it's just the letting go and trusting your team. So how have you over the years allowed yourself to let go of part of the business so that your team members are running it for you?
Yeah, it is a process, right? And it is it's an evolution. I mean, the team that I have, one of my team members I've worked with for 10 years. I originally hired her as my assistant, then she got her license. Now she's still a part-time assistant to me, but also a licensed agent. And the other team members, I've worked with all of them for at least 2 or 3 years now. So it's building that trust. Usually we always present 2 of us to a client, so they always know that there's 2 of us there. But, we're clear with them that one of my teammates is usually going to be the primary with them. I'll be kind of the second after the list presentation, or I might get involved in the offer negotiation.
That makes a lot of sense. You mentioned what's fascinating is that you actually have a team member that's been on with you for 10 years. What's the secret to keeping that agent on the team? Because they often start to look for separating themselves and kind of forming their own team or perhaps not even wanting to part a portion of their commission to you.
No, I am so lucky. She is like my right arm in real estate, and I am not good administratively. I never have been, and she's always done that part of it for me. And I'm a big believer in everybody on the team should be rewarded. So kind of in the early days, I gave her a percent of everything I did, a small percentage. We've changed the model a bit as time has gone on, but I'm always more than generous to my team members. And I think that comes back in spades. So yeah, I think she's very happy. I think she'll be with me till the end. And she's younger, so then when I end up retiring, maybe she'll, be working more with Kim too and the other teammates. But yeah, I feel very lucky I've been able to keep her all this time.
How have you guys done it? Because I even have this question written down for you. Like, would you 2 ever partner together? Or you both have your own,
That's a good
sections of the market?
That's a good question. It's funny that the way that we had come together for this podcast, I think both Jenny and I have always respected each other as business professionals in the industry. So when we had the birth of the podcast, I mean, I could tell right away, and we actually talked about this, I think, on our first episode, that she was somebody that was very professional and she had a lot of the exact same values that I wanted to see or imbue in my own business. So we are very much aligned in terms of what is important to us intrinsically and how we want to give back to the industry and, support other women throughout their business journey and more of that family balance. I think that, so to answer your question, I would always love to work with Jenny. She's somebody that's very creative, very professional, good person to have on your team. I think though that because both of our businesses already have teams in place, the structure is a lot different. It's not to say that you couldn't integrate everything, but I think we both have successful businesses. So it would be harder with the flow in order to meld them together. Does that make sense? I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have that many people on my team.
So for my team, there's myself, and then there's Miranda, who you've met on the screen here. She's our director of marketing and creative design. She handles all our media, social media, anything with branding for our developers. Then there's four other team members, and they work as buyers and listing agents. And so we handle our own clients. Part of the structure is I take care of all of their marketing. So if there's any photos that are required for the listings, anything social media, anything that they need for branding, for feature sheets, for testimonials, like we'll go out and get that for them, and then put it all together into a nice presentation, whether it be digital or whether it be in print for them.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, and so the distribution of the leads are rotated evenly within my team. On top of that, they're also given projects to work on as well. So pre-sale projects, I'll just ensure that they're assigned the right. It kind of matches their target market, matches the geographic location where they're an expert in, and so they're basically handling both pre-sale and resale.
And would you guys ever consider yourself like competition, or have you been in
We've competed before. Did you know that?
I think you may have mentioned it. I guess it's healthy competition, I guess you could say.
I mean, the interesting thing, I'm sure you guys would agree about the real estate industry, is that when you get to a place of just wanting to either help people or give back in a certain way, you really do realize that there's a lot of business out there and there's more than enough business for everybody. So for myself, I can only speak for myself. Anybody that hires Jenny and her team, they're going to be looked after. It's amazing. And I don't see that as competition. I see that as her aligning with maybe other people that I wouldn't work with. And also there's abundance for everybody. So it's not a threat. It's more so we could collaborate on things, or, hey, I have this issue. What would you do to handle it? And I think that's also what's a little bit different about our podcast, right? Because it's a competitive industry and we can all succeed together.
That's what I like, is you're kind of sharing like some secrets and some tips, but to make listeners even better out there, as opposed to just holding all of your secrets in for yourself. I mean, I'm sure you have a few secret tips in real estate that you don't want, broadcasted on the podcast, but in general,
I don't mind.
I mean, I would never share my contact list of developers, but everybody would know who my developer clients are because you could see who I market for. I would say I don't generally share. I mean, I've shared everything. I don't think I've not shared anything.
Really hold it back. I mean, it's a conversation. If we were asked a specific question, I'm sure that we would answer it.
Yeah. And within the team.
Are a lot of your podcast listeners realtors themselves?
Yes, I would say so. Definitely.
Not all.
Not everybody, but they're very big supporters of just our business in general, whether it be your graphic designer.
Yeah.
We have listeners from the Sunshine Coast. We have listeners from Toronto, from the States as well.
They're generally affiliated with the real estate industry in some way. They don't necessarily have to be realtors. There's like that whole creative side, like you had said, the graphic design. I know that we have some real estate lawyers listening to it as well. And also, Jenny, like you mentioned earlier, female entrepreneurs that are kind of striving for work-life harmony. And, there's some other great tips from anybody that's in business for themselves. There's a lot of crossover, right? For the same things that will make someone successful. So there's lots of good takeaways, I think.
Yeah, a lot of our guests, they cover not just real estate topics. So we're covering interior design. We're covering, like you were listening to probably Deborah Stellingworth, who talks about work-life balance, but also maximizing your productivity without having to work the hustle.
Yeah.
We also had, who's another one? Jess Levenall. She's great at, she's a Toronto coach, and she talks about how to boost your social media and capture leads from social media. So it's generally not just top producers on our podcast. We definitely cover a wide range of topics. And so, yeah, we've noticed you had some really great guests as well, and your affiliation with the City of Calgary and as well with Urban Analytics. How are you finding your podcast? Like, what's your why for the podcast, and what do you hope to get out of it for yourself?
Yeah, so the podcast idea really came out of, I think it was watching my mom in her real estate career and all of her stories, and just being fascinated by them, especially seeing an uptick in the Calgary market as of recently, really led me to start searching. Like, I kept listening to your guys' podcast and the Vancouver Real Estate Podcast. And I kept being like, why isn't there a good Calgary real estate podcast out there? And I sent Mom a whole 5-page outline, and I was like, here's the ideas that I have. Let's start a podcast together. And her response was like, yep, I'm in. And it kind of took off from there in February.
That actually sounds so similar.
But
yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, it's been quite fun. So, I mean, we've only got 9 episodes out, and we're still kind of new. Like, I'm doing the editing and the social media and reaching out. We're kind of both reaching out to guests and getting them on. So it's growing, and we're evolving, and we're learning tips and tricks. So I think it's only going to continue to improve, which is exciting. But there wasn't anything really out there on the Calgary market that just talked about the trends and talked about even things like what you need to know before buying a home, because as similar as Calgary and Vancouver are, the markets are so different that hearing about Vancouver prices is just a whole different world than Calgary, because, I mean, I even remember when I was at Urban Analytics, we were tracking the new multifamily home sales, and Calgary would have maybe 500 sales a quarter, and then the Vancouver market would be this was last year, it would be a few thousand.
Yeah.
And that's slow.
It is slow. But Kim,
and honestly, one more thing is that the number of sales, we can't catch up. Our construction is behind because of permits and
a little bit of backlogging.
Yeah, there's a lot of backlog, and so we can't catch up to the demand.
But Kim, I had a question actually. It's a perfect segue. Can you tell us a little bit more about the Calgary market in terms of, I want to say, affordability, maybe the resale side, and also the pre-sale new construction side?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm actually going to let Mom talk first about the resale side, because you've been seeing a really hot resale market, haven't you, Mom?
Yeah. So, and then I've got a question for you guys at the end. But I mean, on the resale side, you can still, the average home price in Calgary is $550, right? So it's
what?
$550,000.
But what does that get you?
So $500.
What does it get you when you say average?
$550,000 gets you a 1,800 square foot, 2-story house, 3 bedrooms plus bonus room, detached in suburbia. Right? Wow. So you can buy the average price, Kim and I just did our condo episode on this. The average price of apartment condos in the first 4 months of this year was $250. So for $250, you're getting a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, 800 square foot condo. Right? So not right downtown. Right downtown, you might be paying $325, but it's still significantly different. So our luxury market, we consider $1 million and over. Versus, I think you guys consider $3 million and over, or maybe $4 for luxury. So Sotheby's track the luxury market in every city, and in Calgary, it starts at $1 million. So we've had more sales in the luxury market this year than we've had for the past 7 years. So the luxury market has done well too. But yeah, so our pricing is significantly different. So how does a young buyer, like somebody in their late 20s, early 30s, just getting married, afford to buy a property in Vancouver?
I'd say right off the bat, it'll be dual income, absolutely, and help, and the parents relying on them to
Co-sign?
to co-sign on the mortgage. And our financial planners and our mortgage brokers are quite creative on this end, where they can put together really nice packages to get the young ones approved. But I would say in general, like late 20s to early 30s, they're definitely relying on parents' gifted money.
I mean, there is actually a lot of money floating around though. And I've noticed more and more single female entrepreneurs that are investing in real estate. And they are able, a lot of them, to carry it themselves.
They're generally in the tech business.
Yes.
So their jobs have been pretty stable. And being in Vancouver, we're, second largest city in tech business. So there has been really no, like, the unemployment rate obviously has risen, but it's primarily because of the part-timers that work here on a minimum wage. But I think for the most part, like the ones that have a steady job, they work in the tech business, digital business, they've been able to work from home. And if not, they've probably already started working from home anyways.
Yeah.
Before this pandemic started.
I guess in Vancouver, I mean, you've just seen such an escalation in home prices that if there's a younger, couple who's looking at buying their first property, if they have help from their parents' home price has increased so substantially that they have more of a financial gain from selling their home than they may have purchased it for, 20, 30 years ago. So that's
100%.
kind of flowing into the next generation. I think with the Calgary market, one of the big differences that we find is that younger like working professionals are able to enter the real estate market a little bit sooner than in the Vancouver market. And I just see that even with my friends who live in Vancouver. It's, you kind of rent until you're ready to settle down. Whereas I do find just in Calgary, we are seeing that entry point just due to purely price point take place sooner. Yeah. And I think that combined with COVID, combined with low interest rates, has really led to the increase in sales in the Calgary market. We were up in the month of April, I think it was 472% compared to the same month last year.
Wow. That's great data, Kim.
It's awesome, but the prices haven't increased that much. I think the prices were up like 15 to 20%,
about 10%.
But the sales, 10%. Okay, yeah. Prices up 10%, but then sales up just in April of 2021 compared to April of 2020 at 472%. So those buyers are kind of becoming more active as well.
And Kim, you mentioned something important for entry level or first time home buyers in terms of affordability. We have seen from our real estate team ourselves clients that are actually moving to where you guys are in Calgary because it's a little bit more affordable for an entry-level home.
Interesting. So are they kind of picking up and selling their property in Van?
Some of them are, and some of them are first-timers.
Yeah. And a good portion of my buyers this year have come from Vancouver, from the island, from Kelowna. Like I've had many buyers moving, cashing out their $3 or $4 million place and coming here. And in Calgary, you spend $1.5 million and you get a beautiful place. And
mortgage free, right?
Mortgage free. And the other big portion of my buyers has been investor clients. I mean, back to this apartment condo or townhouse model. One thing that's really fascinating about Calgary is our rental rates are really quite high. They're almost as high as Vancouver. So our rental rates are maybe 20% lower than what you pay in Vancouver for, a 2-bedroom, 2-bath condo. But our capital costs are like a third of the cost. And so investors looking to just buy and rent, you can really make the numbers work in Calgary. I don't know it offhand, but I do know
I was just curious.
Yeah. Several of the developers we work with too are actually offering guaranteed rental incentive programs. So you buy it, you get a guaranteed rental rate, a return of kind of somewhere between 7 and 10% over a 3-year time period.
Oh, wow.
And if there's capital appreciation in that, that's very attractive. So, because something else that happened over the last 5 years in Calgary, and Kim knows more about this than I do, but all the big downtown kind of apartment condos that were being built, when our market was so depressed, switched over to purpose-built rental. And so I think there was a time, right, Kim, where 3 or 4 years from like 16 to 19 or 20, every crane in downtown Calgary was a purpose-built rental tower. And so we didn't have the new builds. And I think they're now starting to, some of them switch back over, or the new projects are coming out again, finally.
Jenny, you'd be shocked just to hear we went, I think, 3.5 years without a downtown condo project launch.
Wow. That's unheard
a little
of
different than Vancouver.
Yeah. I can't even go down like 2 blocks without like driving through a construction zone.
There's a lot more traffic right now because of all those construction zones, that's for sure.
Question?
Oh, sorry. My question was, and I'm not very familiar with the Calgary market. I'm interested in it though. Your guys' East Village area in Calgary, can you just speak a little bit more about that? Because I know that was an area that a few years ago was really, really rough, wasn't it? And then there was new development that was going in.
Yeah, so they've done an incredible job in the East Village already. So there was actually a number of Vancouver developers, like Bosa just did actually a rental property, but they had a condo project out there before that. Who else is out there? Nightbridge Homes, that's, I guess, Calgary-based. There's Battistella, who's Calgary-based. But a few really innovative developers came in and really took up chunks of the land to build multifamily. But we also had CMLC, or Calgary Municipal Land Corporation, that really was the manager of the land. So everything that goes in East Village really goes through kind of a stricter design guideline. It really has to fit with the feel of East Village. It has to fit with the multifamily, the walkability, that center that you want to go to. So they've done an incredible job. I went down there actually a few weeks ago, and I hadn't been down there in months and months. And they had the urban dog park. They've renovated this whole island called St. Patrick's Island. So while it will take time to be, a very vibrant area, it's getting there. It's making leaps and bounds to what it was even 5 years ago, which was a very rough area. And I think as more development happens there, and once the Flames Arena is built in that area, it will continue to spur it as, that more urban kind of hip feel in our city.
Maybe like a Yale town in Vancouver. Kind of, right? It's got a bit of that vibe.
It does. Not quite as like high end in a sense. Actually, no, there's some high end. Yeah, it kind of does have that vibe.
Go ahead, Jenny.
I want to talk about, Kim, your work experience so far, because you've witnessed your mom in the resale business. You've been in contact with a lot of project sales managers and project marketing companies, and you've kind of seen a light of what project sales managers on the floor, how they work as well. And the reason I'm asking you this question is because Tony, when she started the business, she worked in pre-sales. She decided not to work with her dad at the beginning. So did you at all think about wonder whether you should go into pre-sale first or work with your mom first?
You know what? I think Calgary's pre-sale market is just so different from Vancouver's. So a condo project in Calgary will take, a good 2 years to sell out. sometimes longer. Some of them have been like 4 years, you know, so it is just so different that I don't think I've really considered the pre-sale side as much because of the length that you're at a project for. What excites me about real estate is how quick it changes and how you're seeing something new every day and you're meeting with new people and you're working with new clients, working on different deals. So I think that is one of the biggest differences between Calgary and Vancouver. And I actually, Tony, would you find like when you started in pre-sale, would you be at a project for a long time or were they like short stints and what are you finding now?
Great question. So when I started in real estate, it was at the end of 2010 or around 2010. And I started at Rennie Marketing Systems. They're a big firm downtown. I went onto a pre-sale site right away. So it was really my first experience. I was a new realtor. And it was a project called Grand Central in Coquitlam. And I was there for 3 months. I think when I entered the project, it was already 60% sold because don't forget, right before 2010, there was a downturn. So there was product that was left over. There was greater supply within the marketplace and there wasn't pent-up demand. So it did take a little bit longer to sell. I think I was at Grand Central. It's a long time ago now, maybe 6 or 7 months. And we probably had 10% of that building left. So that was the longest project that I was on, but I also realized very quickly that I was not a pre-sale realtor, if that makes sense. I liked the chase and the hunting of the resale side. So it was a little bit too inactive for me from a sales perspective. That being said, the other projects that I had helped on while I was at Rennie, some of those, like for example, MC2, they did sell out within a day. We were sold within a day. So you've got, 200 to 400 units sold.
Wow.
And, Tony, I agree with you. I think it's a different type of person. I think this is actually a good topic for a future podcast.
It is.
What type of person is a good fit for a realtor, right? Because I've actually seen people come into real estate, and I'm sure you guys have too, who come from that pre-sale or developer background for a long time, and then they go into real estate and they go back because they prefer the people coming in and becoming an expert in one thing versus the true sales of real estate where you have to go out and find your clients and you have to become a bit of an expert but not super expert in everything, but you have to like that, right? The variety, the multitasking. And I can certainly attest from knowing Kim as well as I do, she's better suited, to be in that multifaceted real estate vibrant market than a pre-sale specific project. But
actually, Barb, you said something super important because I remember at the time within the company, we had a discussion, this would be a good topic actually, about how from our observations, a great resale agent can transition very well into closing contracts on the pre-sale side. However, it wasn't necessarily exactly what you're saying, right? It's like if you started in pre-sale and you had no motivation to learn more for yourself or dig a little bit, they were not always successful on the resale side.
Jenny, did you do work in pre-sale? I saw that you've worked with like over 40 projects, but is that individual?
You've got so much experience.
What kind
I did. I started the same. So I was actually working in-house for a really large developer in the greater Vancouver area. I don't think they expand outside of BC, but so I was actually like an employee. So I was like on commission. I don't even think I was on salary. Actually, I started as a sales coordinator. So I was on salary with bonuses structure. And I quickly excelled because I was just very self-motivated, high achiever, self-motivated, got my license within the first 3 or 4 months of working there. And I knew that real estate was what I needed to sell. So I quickly went from sales coordinator to a sales manager role within the year within the company and worked for them for about 4 years. And I jumped ship. So I went from like one developer to another developer to another developer, worked in the Okanagan for one summer. And then from there, I went into resale because I knew that I had a good enough foundation and a base of clients to work with from all the projects I worked on to be able to go into the resale business. So that transition was really easy for me because my first reach out were letters to the communities that I sold from 20 units to 300 units. And my first message to them was, hey guys, I'm the specialist in your community, obviously, because you know that I sold it to you. If you're interested in, moving up, scaling down, I'm your lady. I'm your person to be able to call because I know your home the best. So that's what got my business going in resale. So what had happened was actually, sorry to interrupt, all these developers found out that I went into resale. And so they're like, can you come work for me? I said, no way, I'm done with that. But I will work as a sub-agent. So then all these developers started to hire me back, but I would be on contract work rather than on payroll. And so from there, I just started picking up at least 2 to 3 jobs, 3 projects a year. And that's how I've built my portfolio to up to like 45 now. So I like it this way because it gives me flexibility in where I want to be selling, and it also gives me flexibility on the timing of how everything will line up in the year.
Right. Okay. So would either of you go back to taking on like a whole pre-sale project?
Yeah, so I actually take it on from them assembling the land. So as a resale agent, so I help them assemble the land, do conceptual drawings, to selecting materials that go into the home, selecting materials on the exterior, working with our architect team, and then going to the branding and marketing of the project, to hiring the sales team that's on site, to negotiating the deals that come through with the buyers, and then basically to completion. So handing over the keys. So I'm like a full service sales and marketing company.
And that's a little bit different, Kim, than working on an individual site. So to answer your question as well, I would consider that aspect of it for sure, start to finish. We've started doing some of those as well for land acquisition, and then looking at what would be the most saleable in terms of a certain area, given the demographics, what people are looking for the floor plan stage. But yeah, I won't do a site. I won't sit on a site ever again.
Okay, so that's cool because you get more of a like input into the project than you would just sitting, in the sales center per se.
Yeah, I mean,
you're creating it.
Yeah, you're creating that. So if I was to give you one advice, Kim, because you have such a great insight on pre-sales, is you form a division. Like I know Sotheby's does quite a bit of pre-sales on the, is it Hawaii or?
Sotheby's auction or different?
I don't know, Barb, maybe you can talk about that.
Checks for the pre-sale on condos. Yeah, for sure. And Kim does have that
Kim,
expertise.
you'd be really great at it.
Right. So you can create a project marketing division within your team with your mom and start like a division where you're marketing projects for developers. And your unique selling proposition is that you know how to analyze numbers and crunch numbers for them, and you know how to work the performas for them. So that is such a great strength that you bring to the table, and the numbers talk because they want to know what they can build, what they're going to make at the end of the day. And if you have some team members who want to work on a project on a salary basis, they want something more steady because they don't want to be chasing the business and hustling and bustling on the streets. You can create that type of environment for them where there's a safety net. And also if they have clients that walk through the sales center and don't want to buy that project, they can become a client of yours.
Yeah.
In the resale side. So
that'll be really exciting.
Yeah.
If you
So
do that, Kim.
I've eliminated all the projects, all my advertising, because we do get a lot of leads from projects. And so that has really helped out on eliminating like the the digital media, the online leads that are really cold. But you're walking in already, meeting them face to face, and you're an expert in the neighborhood. So if that project doesn't work for them, then you can, try to gain their relationship and try to sell them something else.
This is getting me so excited.
Yes.
I love that.
So just because I know we're kind of nearing the end of our time, can I just ask you guys a question on your podcast? So this is your 1 year anniversary. How cool. And how many in total have you recorded?
So we just released episode 39 this week, and we recorded 4 today. So what we do is we get together once a month, and then we record about 4 to 5 sessions at a time.
It's the only way we have to do it that way because we both have our own businesses, individual sales, and also other responsibilities. So it's the most time efficient in order to make sure everything gets looked after.
That's what we should be doing, Mom.
That's a good idea. And then so on average, you try to put them out about every 10 days, or do you have
Every Wednesdays. So what we're doing is every Monday, Tuesdays, we're posting a lead up to that new release on Wednesday. So on our social media, it's just a talk about kind of like a hint of what we're going to be talking about and releasing on Wednesday. And then on Wednesday morning at 9:00, it's released on Google Play, on Spotify, on YouTube, on our IGTV and Apple Podcast. And so in between all that, we're posting about our personal life. We're just anything that really resonates with us and a really good message to our listeners. But yeah, it's basically every Wednesdays. It's probably a lot easier for you to coordinate because you can probably do a podcast and a session during dinner if you wanted to. But with our schedules, it's just a lot easier for us to schedule one day because we also have Miranda in the room. We have Braden as well. We're all set up with professional microphones here. So it's just a lot easier to do all 4 sessions in one time.
Yeah.
And how have you found that your podcast has helped your real estate business, and how are you kind of leveraging both aspects of it?
Well, one thing I want to mention is we've actually been, somebody at the real estate board has reached out to us and wants us to host a webinar. And so that will get us out to 14,000 realtors. And it allows us to bring something different to the table. We're experts at helping and coaching other people in the business. For me, it's a personal growth that more than anything that I've learned out of this is learning more about myself. And I'm trying to start a coaching business as well. So in that end, like it's really benefited me in that way. Tony, how has it benefited you?
I would say in terms of direct real estate business, it's not necessarily our demographic actually for our target audience because we're not catered on my personal real estate channel. That is more to target prospective clients and service existing ones when they have questions. So that's a little bit different. And I get really good conversion from that personal platform, but that's who the audience mostly is. For the podcast, I would say the biggest difference that it's made for me is, sometimes you don't meet other real estate professionals in person, especially not right now during COVID. It's actually made some of the negotiations go a little bit smoother, I think, because they listen to the podcast.
So credibility.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's very interesting. So I would say that in terms of professional colleagues or anybody in industry, I've had a lot more meaningful and personal conversations with them. So we're relating to one another, not just through the business sphere, but in something maybe that we've said or talked about on the podcast that resonates with them. And that's been really enjoyable. Also, I am also a big supporter of women and, I love meeting other women in business and encouraging each other along the journey. So I would say it definitely fills my cup that way. So I'm getting a lot of things back that it's just great. It's just a side benefit of creating something fun.
And I guess it kind of goes along, like everything is your brand in a sense. So it kind of adds to the branding of, who you are and your messaging and your real estate advice and expertise. So it showcases that as well.
Yeah. And I have to be honest, I'm very competitive. Tony's competitive too. I just want to be the first at doing something. So we're the first to have a women's podcast about real estate. And it really has put us on a whole different platform amongst the other.
That's why we started it so quickly, remember? It was so quick.
Well, we are just doers.
It was like,
that's
just
period.
do it.
Yeah, we're just doers.
Just do it.
And we're like, okay, well, we got the financial means. I knew that there just wasn't anybody doing it this way with the type of messages and the type of topics. And so it was a really easy transition for us to get started and just like go for it.
Well, super great insight, right? Yeah. Because I think Kim and I being new at it, I think we're still trying to figure out, if we have a niche, if we're targeting our messaging more for like consumers to educate them on the Calgary real estate market, or are we targeting it more for other agents? We're kind of just feeling it out right now. We're trying to blend bringing in experts or guest speakers in some versus not always having to have a guest speaker, and sometimes us just talking about what's happening. So we're just feeling it out. We haven't got to the every Wednesday, that regular schedule yet, but that is a goal of ours too. So,
yeah, I think it's brand establishment. We interviewed Michelle Cummins 2 weeks ago, and she is the radio host for 107.1 Country. And she says she doesn't really get direct. Her show airs at 8 a.m. on Saturdays. And although they get a lot of people like calling in, she may not get direct leads out of it, but it's just establishing her brand. And so when you're in the people's face and you're the expert in something, they just build a lot more confidence and trust in your services. And so just think of it that way, where you're not just trying to get leads. I think there's that meaning and intention behind what you're doing, and people will authentically connect with you that way.
Yeah, and when you guys are discovering kind of what lights you up at the end of the day through, it's good. You're being creative. You're kind of navigating through to see how you can bridge the gap, I guess, between the two. But you'll be able to create your guys' why together. And that might be something that if you were to sit down and look at, it's probably already there. You just haven't coming to fruition. And then I'm sure it'll be successful. I've listened to some of your guys' podcasts already. You're both very well spoken, and I've enjoyed the topics.
Yeah, if you're counting like numbers and stats or number of leads that you did not get, you're going to just resent like having to record all these. So enjoy the process, enjoy the time that you guys have together about it, and take in all you can, like get the feedback from your listeners. And I would say if you enjoy interviewing a certain somebody and then kind of work around that as well, because, maybe you're going to become like, you're going to create a niche out of that particular topic or type of industry. Yeah.
I love that. And I love that you guys have definitely, it sounds like, created that niche in the Vancouver market, which is really cool. And I'm sure there's a lot of up and coming real estate experts that are learning from your tips and tricks and your episodes.
Through our failures. We hope so, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. And there's going to be ups and downs, and I'm kind of ready to embrace that too.
Go ahead, Barb.
And I said, I love women supporting women mentoring women.
Yes.
I love that. Like, we will definitely be inviting you guys as a future guest on one of our future shows. And
we'd love to come.
We would love that.
Thank you so
much.
much.
Thanks guys for having, being able to come on the show. I know you guys are super busy. One more thing, Kim, you said you were coming into town. You're coming into Vancouver?
Vancouver, but I'm coming out to the cusp this weekend. So it's in BC. I just have family there, but it's almost closer to the Kelowna region.
Okay.
A small town out there. So looking forward to that.
Well, ladies, I wanted to say one other thing too. I do have some friends and family in Calgary. So obviously, if they're looking for a realtor,
where can they find you? Where can our listeners find you?
You find our podcast at Calgary Real Estate Podcast on all your social media networks. So LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and then My name's Kim Poffenroth and Barb Richardson. So, Mom, how can they find you for real estate?
Well, my group is called Richardson Group YYC. So richardsongroupyyc.com. So on Sotheby's, but on that group too. And yes, no, we would love to connect and love to connect if we make it to Vancouver at some point in the near future.
Absolutely. They should be opening up dining very soon. Our patios are open, but
they are not. But Tony, next time you're in Calgary, let us know, and hopefully we can record it in person, have you on our episode.
Absolutely. I'd love to meet you both in person one day soon.
We'll be able to do that.
Well, best of luck on your podcast. We're definitely enjoying all the episodes, and we look forward to listening and seeing more of it. If there's anything that you need from us,
reach out anytime.
And we thoroughly enjoyed talking to you guys, Kim and Barb.
Love you as well, and thank you for your
so
patience with technology. So
we had issues too on our side.
on our side. So thank you guys.